in communication with Southern California. KHJ-TV Public Affairs presents Teen Talk. Research indicates that over 60,000 potentially hazardous chemicals are being used in the United States, and many have been dumped or buried into the environment. After spending $1 billion by 1985, the United States has cleaned up only 10 out of 2,100 toxic dump sites. Some experts claim that our Earth is being destroyed at the rate of 54 acres per minute.
On Interstate 44 in Missouri, motorists come to a stretch of the highway where the interstate signs have been painted over and are disfigured and blank. There, to the left of the highway, weeds and tall grass obscure what once was a thriving little town. There are streets and houses, but no people. Just before the Christmas of 1982, the people of Trinas Beach, Missouri, discovered that their town had been drenched with dioxin, a poison so potent that one drop in 110,000 gallons of water is considered dangerous. I'm Joseph Feinstein, and today on Teen Talk, we're going to discuss with our teen panel the concerns we have about our environment. Welcome, panel. Welcome to Teen Talk. What would you do if you were a citizen of Trinas Beach, Missouri? Tom, what would you do?
I think I would be very upset that the government had let that happen, but I would be more concerned with my health, and I'd get out of there as fast as I could. I wouldn't want to, delay my leaving and then fight it from somewhere else.
Right. It would seem really upsetting and burning inside. What would you do? What would you do, Dee Dee?
I'd do basically the same thing he was doing, but you have to, let the public know what's going on, because a lot of people wouldn't even know what would be going on. People died, probably.
Yeah, well, there's a tendency on the part of a lot of people to be very, very careless, and we know that nobody wants to intentionally destroy any city. We know that nobody is out to really, hurt this environment that we live in, and yet it seems to be happening over and over again, and I'm wondering, what do you think is going on with that? Eric, what do you think? Why is this happening?
Well, I think that people who, they dump waste or they do things like that to destroy the environment, they're not really thinking about what they're doing. They're just thinking of how they can save money by not doing sending it to a dump or things like that.
Okay, so it's a matter of expediency. How do you feel, Athena?
I think it's the same thing. I don't think it's I don't think the people that are responsible for dumping those or ordering those the poisonous things to be dumped, the toxins into the ocean or let's say lakes or wherever it is, I don't think they're thinking about that they're doing that. They're thinking about saving money, making money. They're thinking about themselves and not the environment. They're not considering things that are going to happen from it.
Tom?
They want a quick fix, something that'll get it done now instead of looking to the future, what's going to happen to the future generations.
They'll be dead by then anyway.
They'll be dead by then anyway, really. Yeah, and what should I care? Why should I care about it?
Yeah, it's not a problem for them because they don't have to worry about it. Say put it in a container for 20 years, and if the container disintegrates, it's too bad for the people come next.
I don't have to worry. Yeah, Stephanie?
Yeah, I feel it's careless human error, and they're not intentionally hurting our human race now, but later on it will hurt.
What is there about people that just has no conscience about these kinds of things?
Like she said, it's
Yeah,
human error.
Human error. I feel they do care, but it also has to do with money, saving money, and they're just not going into enough research to dump the waste in a place where it wouldn't hurt as many people.
But a lot of the times they don't know how dangerous it really is. Sometimes, they think, like in Catalina, for example.
What happened in Catalina?
Those barrels that were found off the coast. Those were dumped, I don't know how many years ago. Was it 5 or something? I don't really remember. But, it was dumped there. And when they opened it, they didn't really know what was there. But it was the time that it was there that made it more dangerous than it was when it was dumped.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. You know what I'm just thinking about? I'm thinking, why is it, what is there about U6 that is concerned about this in the first place? I mean, why do you care any more than anybody else?
Well, I feel that it's also hurting our environment, not just us as people, but also it's getting into our food chain by dumping it into the Santa Monica Bays, and it's killing off certain species, and some are becoming extinct, like as the condor.
Why do you care?
I care because it also affects me. And
It's our generation.
yeah.
What do you mean?
We're the children of the 80s. We're what's going to be out there. We're the future. We're what's going to be out there when you disappear. We're still going to be here. So we've got to make
I'm never going to disappear.
Okay. In general, I'm just saying when the next generation goes, we're what's going to be left, and we've got to deal with what you've left us. So if you leave us with this big mess, and what are we supposed to do with it? Because how else are we going to make the best of what you left us if you leave us an environment full of pollution?
Yeah.
So right now, as teens, it's our job to open up what's going on, let the public know, and speak out because we have a voice and we are counted.
The Environmental Education Act of 1970 was passed by Congress to help educate and keep our population aware of environmental influences affecting all of us. By 1982, the funding for this had stopped. Panel, why do you think an important piece of legislation like this dries up? Why do you think the government lets things like this happen? Stephanie?
I believe the politicians feel that other things are more important than their environment, and that their funding should go elsewhere.
Well, defense gets a big chunk of it.
And they don't give enough attention to this major problem.
But why not? Why, knowing what we know, knowing that this is our environment, this is our country, pollution is wiping people out, toxic fumes, toxic wastes, it's killing us, it's really destroying. Why wouldn't the government want to support stuff like this, legislation like this? Athena, you have any thoughts about this at all?
Well, I think in some cases the government is supported by people who have a lot of money, who run the chemical plants or the different places where the toxic chemicals come from, and they give a lot of money to politicians, and that has a lot of influence. Money has influence.
Spending it on other people that that are more popularly wanted in the country.
Oh yeah, there are certain influences and certain kinds of legislation that are very popular and that are seen as popular, so that would be a consideration. But why let something as important as this get away from them?
It's too close to home. No one wants to think that there could be toxic waste in their backyard. They're too worried about it that they want to put it away in a corner and not worry about it, hoping that it'll go away. But
let me ask you this, Tom. What would you do? How would you penalize a company that has decided to, use toxic waste, abuse toxic waste, and throw this stuff into our environment? What would you do to those people?
severe penalties, including fines and even closing the company down until they have found a way, just totally shutting it down.
Cleanup charges.
What do you mean? What?
Cleanup charges.
And cleanup charges.
That would
They
be
couldn't afford those, could they?
No.
That might break the company right down the line. No way to have some.
I don't think the problem is the penalty. I think the problem is the damage that has been done.
Tell me.
Well, pollution, things in our ocean, in the air, and almost everywhere you go, there's pollution.
I think we all feel a sense of frustration with this kind of an issue, and I think we all go crazy with this. But I want to turn to you for a moment, Catherine. Tell us about what was done at your school and about that whole situation with the Santa Monica Bay.
In March 1985, Mr. Bennett, who is our English teacher, he is an English teacher at our school, took on the responsibility to prevent not toxic dumping, but the dumping of raw sewage into the Santa Monica Bay. He's a swimmer, he swims. He gets up at 5 in the morning and he swims. And when he first moved to LA, well, to Playa del Rey, he used to tell us that he could see the bottom of the ocean floor. And now it's covered with, you know, toxic sewage, and he can't see anything. So it started to disturb him. So he took over and he made this petitions, and he just started pushing and making trouble and exploiting these people. And he started bringing it out to the public and telling them what is really going on, because this beach is a part of Venice, is the kids of Venice,
Right.
Santa Monica,
Playa
Culver
del
City,
Rey.
Playa del Rey,
Malibu,
and
all the way up
that beach was closed 4 times.
Right.
And they put up signs saying, you know, this is hazardous to your health. And Mr. Bennett just started pushing
There's a lot
things.
of other things that are hazardous to your health,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah,
stop people
but
from
right,
smoking
exactly.
or using drugs.
But I mean, he started the coalition to stop dumping raw sewage into the bay. And through that, he had help from Save Our Seas, which is SOS. What else? What other club? There are other
The
people.
Coalition for Better Environment, I think, got in on it a little bit.
And,
Sierra Club may have gotten in on it.
exactly. Sierra Club was in that. And he just started pushing and opening it to
Was
the
it
public.
successful?
It was very successful. The first hearing they had wasn't that successful. But then after he had put it out in the news and he was on talk shows,
Yeah, you
he got it out.
You
He
got
got
to
it
get
out.
angry. You
He did.
really got to get
he got
angry.
it out, and the room was filled with people at the second hearing.
No kidding.
It was filled.
Were you there?
I wasn't there at the second hearing.
You weren't
No,
there for
I
the
wasn't
second
there
hearing.
at the second hearing.
And what happened as a result of the second hearing?
They decided to have another hearing, which decided to shut down the Hyperion plant, or I think it was to penalize them and give them a fine.
Really?
And they had to induce secondary.
So people
treatment to them.
have power, and when the people decide that they're going to use the power, things dramatically can happen. What have you guys done in terms of your own personal experiences with this stuff? What are you doing now? How are you making your contribution?
Well, talk to a lot of people that go and use the ocean almost every day. For instance, surfers or people that are out there all the time. I mean, there are times when there are signs up saying, hazardous to your health, don't go in the ocean, but the truth is it's hazardous all the time at this point. I mean, people are they're reacting from what's in the ocean, from what's in the bay. And by telling your friends to get involved, you know, people talk to the lifeguards and see what they can do, and, you know, talk.
Where did you get this interest to be concerned about any of this stuff in the first place?
Well, I've lived by the ocean all my life.
Yeah.
And my hobby is aquariums. So, and I love to snorkel and look at the local waters, the tide pools right in the area, up north, you know, up down south, and it's all along the coast. And it starts to affect the local sea life. So that's why I'm concerned.
Okay. And Dee Dee, where did you get your interest for all of this?
Well, we went on, Tom and I went on science trips with Daniels High School Science Club, and we went to Yosemite, and it taught us a lot, and Baja too, and you learn a lot about, you know, what can be destroyed so easily. You know, because like they were doing controlled burns you know, everyone thinks of forest fires as bad, but they had to do controlled burns because if they didn't, it would just, once the slightest spark would like light the whole forest. They didn't do controlled burns. And, you know, just stuff like that on the trips. It's really good.
A recent study has proved that our own Santa Monica Bay is polluted. There are signs posted on all the piers that warn fishermen not to eat the fish they catch. The bottom fish have been found to have a high level of DDT. Do you think twice about swimming in an area that contaminates fish? How do you feel about that, Catherine?
Definitely. I refuse to swim in water that's polluted like that.
You were telling me a story about the fish?
Yeah, there was a hearing that they had, and Mr. Bennett was able to find a marine biologist, and I'm not quite sure if they were able to bring it in but he had someone go to the bottom of the ocean and scrape some sludge and put it in a canister, a clear canister, so they could show it to the judge or whoever, the panel of people. And one marine biologist brought in a couple fish, and he cut them open, and inside the fish were found tumors.
Yay big.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And I mean, that's such a disturbing sight to see, because this is our food chain right here.
Right.
And who knows how long this has been, or who knows how long it's been in the fish, and you've been eating this.
I know. I know. I've been to the Caribbean several times on different cruises that I've been in, and you cannot imagine that water. It is turquoise and beautiful, and you can clear and you can look at all the way down and swim and see the fish floating around, and it's just so gorgeous. Do you think we're going to ever be able to turn this around now that we've got what we've got out in Santa Monica and so forth, Tom?
I don't think you can't really go backwards, but you might be able to stop it and improve it a little to where the fish aren't being totally damaged, but it'll be polluted for a long time.
It will be.
It's going to take a couple of years to
More than that.
more than years.
More than years.
Oh yeah.
What do we have? Yeah, go ahead,
I
Steph.
feel that there's pollution everywhere, because I've been to those places and seen beautiful fish and clear water, but also I've seen algae and I've seen disgusting things in the water everywhere.
You
and
cleaned that up
I think
beautifully
it's just
just now. Stephanie, go ahead.
I think it has to start with us. You know, we have to be more careful about where we put our trash and what we do. It's not just the ocean and dumping. I think it also involves us.
I just think I see this all along the highway when the people are throwing
It's
beer
not
cans
just
out
it's
of
not just the oceans, it's
But
the
that's-
air
that's the main thing that
and
brought
the
it out.
places that you live, the area around you, the highways and everything like that. It's you can't
Eric,
just
you're invested with the possibility of talking to zillions and zillions of people. You can talk to them and tell them a whole spiel. What would you say to them in 30 seconds?
Well, I would tell them to get involved, and
Why should I get involved?
well, because it's everywhere. It's in your drinking water. It's in what you breathe. It's in what you eat, and some of these things cause cancer and other diseases, and you could, it's your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't
What do
want-
you say to them, Dee Dee?
If you like pollute the water that you drink and just dump it in the ocean, it's gonna come back to haunt you sometimes. Like you pollute the water and then it goes back into the water tables. Well, we get our water from the water tables, so you're just gonna drink your pollution back again.
Well, all these people are sitting now, they're sitting in their living room and they're listening to us talking, and they're all saying, yeah, we've heard it 17 zillion times before, and we agree with you. We're never going to throw a can out. We're never going to throw any papers on the floor, and we're going to do everything we possibly can. But, what's the... Yeah, go ahead.
I think that when people say yeah, it's because they really don't know how bad it is. It's a whole lot worse than people think it is. Just like the signs. The sign says hazardous to your health, but it's hazardous all the time. It's just not as bad. Like for the bags, for an example, there's a very high level that they allow as in the water that's acceptable in the water. There's a high level of pollution they accept just because of money and because of politics and all that. And with, like, let's say acid rains or something, there's a whole lot of stuff
What
going.
is acid rain?
I don't know a whole lot about it, but what I think it is, and the reason I know about it is because my dad's a fisherman and he's interested because he fishes the streams, right? So I think what it is there's chemical plants, right? And there's waste that comes out of like smoke and
Even just driving your car. That
driving your
causes,
car, right?
The
You know,
noxious
the-
fumes, the
Right,
emissions.
right.
Yeah.
From everywhere.
which rises, and then when it rains, it brings it back down onto the trees and the
Oh,
plants and the
goody.
streams, and
everywhere.
affects the birds and the fish
Yeah.
and all the little animals and things.
And here
that-
we are breathing all
and the
this
plants and
pollution.
everything, yeah.
Yes, Tom?
What happens is the sulfur bonds between the fluorocarbons that we were burning are broken.
Make
and
it simple. Make it simple.
They're sent up into the atmosphere, and when the water attracts to them, it forms sulfuric acid, which is used to pool chemicals, and it's toxic and burns through your hands. And so that's what you're breathing, because if you breathe in these, they'll go with your moist membranes of your lungs.
Oh, wow.
And form it right
I
inside.
guess the only way these people are really going to understand is when they're limited to water, or when they're limited to going outside and breathing air, or when they're limited to doing the things that they do every day.
I appreciate so much your concern and your love of what you're saying, your passion for what you're saying. Do you guys think that we're going to use up the planet in another couple of 100 years or something? At the
Sooner
rate
than
that
that.
we're going, sooner than that. You really?
I
If we're not
think
careful, yeah, it's possible.
There has to be.
Really?
But it can be, you know, it's not, I'm not saying it's going to be reversed if we just stop everything now, but it can certainly, you know,
Give us more
Slow
time.
down.
yeah, give us more time to slow down and, you know.
There has to be a growing self-awareness.
Yeah.
More people have to know about, because just Joe Schmo down the block doesn't
Right,
know that
exactly.
the environment's getting polluted. He watches TV, but that's
Someone once said, I don't want to talk about the planet, I want to plead for it. And for the moment, that's what I want to do. We really have to heed the warnings issued by such people as the Sierra Club, the Parks Department, Globescope, Greenpeace, and other environmentalists. Acid rain, toxic wastes, and a poisoned atmosphere must be an imperative concern. Secondhand smoke, noxious car emissions, polluted drinking water must become part of our conscious thought process, or we will eventually pay a heavy price for our indifference. I too have been complacent until this show. I was always aware, but somehow indifferent to this terrible problem. Perhaps we better all stand up and get busy. Thank you, panel. Thank you for being here. For Teen Talk, this is Joseph Feinstein saying we will see you very soon.